1990s. The picture changes little if, for a moment, we shift the focus from elections to the broader context in which they are held. As the Cold War ended, some scholars and politicians were seduced by the belief that we were nearing the end of history, that all countries were on a slow but inevitable march towards liberal democracy. In hindsight, that prediction appears to have been naively optimistic. Instead, the last decade has witnessed a gradual decline in the quality of democracy in the world. Moreover, there is little evidence that this trend is easing. According to Freedom House, the American pro-democracy think tank, in 2017, 71 countries suffered net declines in political rights and civil liberties, with only 35 registering gains. This represented the worst annual democratic recession in quite some time, but the pattern is consistent. In each of the last 12 years, more countries have experienced democratic backsliding rather than democratic consolidation. Significantly, this process is not concentrated in only one part of the world and does not appear to reflect specific regional dynamics. Instead, the erosion of democracy can be identified in all of the regions caught up in the third wave of democratization: Latin America, Eastern Europe, and Africa, as well as areas that have yet to democratize, such as the Middle East. This is reflected in the fact that the 5 countries that suffered the biggest democratic decline in 2017 were, in order of magnitude, Turkey, the Central African Republic, Mali, Burundi, and Bahrain, with Venezuela and Hungary not far behind. These developments are particularly striking when stacked up against the other major trend of recent times: the growing prevalence of multi-party elections. How is it possible that the flourishing of elections has coincided with a decade of democratic decline? The answer is that dictators, despots, and counterfeit democrats have figured out how to rig elections and get away with it. An increasing number of authoritarian leaders are contesting multi-party elections, but are unwilling to put their fate in the hands of voters. In other words, more elections are being held, but more elections are also being rigged. This part of the story, global democratic backsliding and the inability of elections, on their own, to deliver democracy, has already received considerable academic attention and media coverage. Although international policymakers continue to demonstrate a remarkable faith in the transformative power of elections, even those held in the most difficult of contexts, such as in Afghanistan and Iraq, recent experience has shown the enduring capacity of leaders to subvert multipartyism. What is less well known is that in many countries, elections do not simply fail to topple dictators and despots. They sometimes actively help them shore up their grip on power. This is because reintroducing elections typically enables embattled governments to secure access to valuable economic resources, like foreign aid, while reinvigorating the ruling party and, in many cases, dividing the opposition. Consequently, a number of authoritarian regimes that appeared to be in their death throes have, with the help of the ballot box, proved able not only to win consecutive elections, but also to re-establish their political dominance. To put it another way, if authoritarian leaders can hold elections without losing, they can have their cake and eat it, boosting their resources and legitimacy while retaining their grip on power. This is not to say that autocrats welcome elections. Most fight the reintroduction of multi-party politics tooth and nail, in part because they do not see dissent and opposition as legitimate political activities. But once competitive elections have been reinstated, these regimes often prove to be remarkably adept at manipulating them for their own purposes. As a result, authoritarian systems that hold elections but do not allow opposition parties to meaningfully contest them